Hi there, and welcome back to Take 5 with T&I. I'm the ranking member of the committee, Rick Larson, and I'm excited to be here with Debra Lamb, who is the founding director of the Partnership for Inclusive Innovation. Now today, Debra and other AI experts, artificial intelligence experts, are joining the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure to help us understand a little bit more, for some of us, for the first time, how AI is transforming and can transform how we move around in the world and how we can make our roads and bridges and a lot of things safer as well. So I wonder if you could just start off, Debra, by just taking us through a little bit how you leverage innovation to improve communities across Georgia.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me here,
Sure.
Representative Larson. It's a delight. At the Partnership for Inclusive Innovation, we're based out of the Georgia Institute of Technology. So it's a great public university, really trying to think about how to increase access and accessibility to technology, AI, a whole wealth of toolkits to empower communities. And for us, we really try to first meet the communities where they are. So trying to understand their local context, the needs, to really think about, what types of innovations and technologies are most suitable for the community, because ultimately we want to empower the community. So it's not just us coming in and dictating the terms, it's really them trying to build literacy and accessibility and understanding so it can be applied to whatever the community problem is. This includes transportation, but it can also include energy, housing, a slew of community problems that they have to face day in and day out, and then really thinking about that literacy and application that can be best to address it.
I think with we're in the early stages in transportation on AI and its applications. But already what I'm getting from folks who come and talk to us, they come to us with, we got a great idea to solve your problem. And it's like, well, who have you vetted this with? Like, no one. We just have this great idea. We don't know how it's really going to work. We have a great idea, and we have an idea of how it's going to work. So what you're saying is you try to come with a solution that's been vetted by a community.
No, and I'm glad how you start with that, because we don't like to lead with technology like AI. It's really important to start with a problem, right? Because if you come and lead with like a sensor or AI, then you're trying to squeeze it into some type of application. Whereas we want to start with, what is the problem the community is trying to solve? And then what's the host of possible research, technology, and other tools that can be used that's specific to that community problem. And that's a different way to combat that, but that also, to your point, requires a lot more community engagement, right? And the reason why we say this is that if you start that way, the community is more likely to engage in the process and then be responsible for the outcomes at the end.
Yeah, as well. So you mentioned some examples, and you're going to talk about some examples at the round table. Can you talk a little bit about your focus on the partnerships and ensuring inclusivity, and how that makes a difference for the communities that you're talking to?
And that's why it's so great with the Georgia Institute of Technology, where we're based, is that we know for a lot of these complex problems like transportation, it's really hard to be solved by any one entity, whether it's government or the private sector or even academia and university. So how do you create the most robust public-private partnerships where everyone's contributed, right? Whether it's the research or the funding or the policy making, and really be able to share the risk across the board and then be really part of the ownership of the outcomes. And so creating those public-private partnerships to solve these complex problems is essential to how we combat it.
That's great. So I wanted to, I've got a lot of notes here, a lot of questions to ask you. We're going to get to the big five in a minute.
I'm ready.
But just in a moment. Can you talk a little bit about how you incorporate labor unions into some of this work, especially on artificial intelligence and its applications? Unions and workers generally are a little nervous about that.
Yeah, no, great question. And for us, we think of transportation as actually a nexus between housing and workforce. So it's really hard to think of transportation just by itself because of the infrastructure that's involved with connecting it with housing and then connecting it to jobs and then the training behind that. So we have a project right now that's funded by US DOT. It's part of the SMART grant, and it's with Chatham Area Transit. So it's in Savannah off coastal Georgia, and it's the area transit provider to the region. And like many regions, it's really challenged by the increased opportunities major manufacturers coming in, lots of new population. And so how do you really think about the problem, which is historically underserved, under-accessed transit neighborhoods connecting to the jobs and the affordable housing. So we worked with Georgia Tech researchers as well as Chatham Area Transit to use a on-demand multimodal transit system to allow AI-driven algorithms to guide the electric shuttles. And getting them to the point in time where it meets the needs of the community, but it's also involving training the existing union drivers of Chatham Area Transit, because they don't want to be driving around and responding ineffectively as well, because they're ultimately providing service. And we're also connected to the local colleges and providing a pipeline for them to actually be involved in this type of training and managing the system. And the Chatham Area Transit drivers have been very supportive from the very beginning.
Okay.
We incorporated them at the table in terms of the community engagement, and we're using those drivers.
Okay. So let's go with the take 5. T and I'm going to ask you 5 quick hitter questions, and I always say that questions are quick, the answers are usually long. But you have to have quick answers for these too.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to, really try to challenge you. One reason, how do you see technology like AI advancing inclusion? One example.
Bringing more people to the table that otherwise wouldn't have the ability to.
Great. Are there pitfalls to AI that Congress should be aware of?
Privacy, security, and obviously making sure that access is available, but making sure those parameters are put in place.
Yeah. Why is it essential to share the economic benefits that might come with AI?
We believe that AI, like technology, is a great driver for shared economic prosperity, and historically, not every one access sector communities have had, the ability to be empowered by it, and so that's a major part of what we do.
Okay, I'm going to shake it up a little bit. You've worked in Pittsburgh and Atlanta. Steelers or Falcons?
Oh, Steelers.
Wrong answer. Seahawks. All right. What innovations are you most excited by?
I'm interested in how humans, like people, can be harnessing that kind of technology. So ultimately, it's based on people again.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much for your time. Look forward to the roundtable, and that's take 5 with T&I with Rick Larson, Debra Lamb from Georgia Tech. Go Yellow Jackets, and
Go Yellow Jackets.
and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Appreciate it.